Walk into almost any grocery store today, and you'll see these new hipster style category of drinks called prebiotic sodas. And they promise something traditional sodas never did: better gut health. Because you goddamn need that, right? I don't know. Let's find out. So, one of the biggest brands leading this trend is Poppi. And you've probably seen the ads for these. But here's the question I kept wondering as a physician: does a can of Poppi actually improve gut health? Or is it just clever marketing built on a small piece of real science, like a lot of things in life? So let's find out. Poppi started as a small beverage company that appeared on Shark Tank and eventually grew into one of the fastest growing drinks in the better for you soda category. And the idea is simple: you take soda, something most people think of as unhealthy, and you redesign it around two features to make it look healthy, kind of like lipstick on a pig. So, lower sugar and a functional ingredient, prebiotic fiber. And what the hell is that? So, in Poppy's case, that ingredient is agave inulin, and it's a type of dietary fiber that feeds certain gut bacteria. So, each can contains about 2 grams of prebiotic fiber, along with a few grams of sugar, just so that it tastes good enough for you to drink. And I'll say it that way because I've tried it. The brand messaging is very clear: be gut happy, be gut healthy. And that implication is pretty straightforward. You drink this instead of soda, and your gut will thank you. But is this true? Now, to be fair, the idea behind this isn't crazy. Prebiotic fiber is actually real science. So, compounds like inulin can feed beneficial bacteria in the gut microbiome. And there's legitimate research showing that certain fibers can actually improve digestion and bowel function. So, the core concept isn't fake. But the real question is something slightly different: is the amount in a can of Poppi actually enough to do anything meaningful? That's the big question. Because in biology, doses matter. When researchers study prebiotic fibers like inulin, the doses used in clinical trials are usually much higher than what's in a can of soda. So many studies show benefits starting somewhere around 5 grams per day, sometimes closer to 7 to 12 grams. And those levels can increase beneficial bacteria and improve certain digestive markers. And in the case of Poppi, it contains about 2 grams per can, which means a single can is actually delivering a fraction of the amount used in most studies. Now, that doesn't mean 2 grams does nothing, but nutrition doesn't work like a light switch. And it does suggest something important: a single Poppi probably isn't delivering the kind of microbiome effect that people are imagining when they see the ads and they say, well, I'm going to replace my shitty, unhealthy soda with a Poppi can and I'm going to be great. This gap between the marketing and the dose is exactly what led to a class action lawsuit against Poppi. And the argument was simple: consumers reasonably assumed that one can provided a meaningful health benefit. But the critics argued that the amount of fiber was too small to produce that effect. And that case eventually resulted in an $8.9 million settlement, although the company did not admit wrongdoing. So now lawsuits don't automatically mean a product is bad and people were lying, but it does highlight an interesting tension in the health industry that we see over and over again. So when does marketing cross the line from being optimistic to misleading? But there's another layer to this story completely. So Poppi isn't really competing with vegetables, right? You can't drink vegetables, guys. It's competing with Coca-Cola. And compared to traditional soda, Poppi is probably a better choice because regular soda, high sugar, low fiber. Well, why am I saying low fiber? It has zero fiber. And Poppi, much less sugar, and some fiber. So if someone replaces 2 cans of soda a day with Poppi, it's probably a net improvement. And the mistake is assuming that improvement equals a functional gut health product. Those are two very different things. This story also reveals something larger about the wellness industry, where a real scientific concept, in this case prebiotic fiber, gets attached to a product category. And then marketing takes that concept, stretches it in all different directions into this broad promise. So it's not necessarily false, but often it's just exaggerated. And it happens with green powders, you know who I'm talking about, drinks and electrolytes and longevity supplements. I could go on, and I will in future videos. A small piece of science becomes an entire category of products, essentially. So, if someone truly wants to improve their gut microbiome, if that's what you want to do on the weekend, I'm not going to judge. The most evidence based approach is still incredibly boring. You just need a lot more fiber. So, foods like beans, lentils, vegetables, whole grains, and most people need somewhere between 25 to 35 grams per day. You'll be surprised. Most of you are nowhere near this, probably nowhere near half of this, and some of you nowhere near a quarter of that number. So, where does that leave Poppi? Probably somewhere in the middle. So, it's not magic. It's also not the worst beverage choice. The real lesson isn't about soda. It's about how modern health marketing works, and a small piece of real science, like I said, combined with a much bigger story. The goal of this channel isn't to attack products or people or to be named in a lawsuit. Wink, please do not sue me, people. It's to understand the systems behind them. Because once you understand the incentives and the marketing and the science, you can make much better decisions about your health.